Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Happy October. Sorry, we've had a few weeks of a little bit of craziness, which we're actually going to talk about today. So
A lot of bit of craziness.
we'll give everybody a few minutes to hop on. Again, apologies that we have not been on in the last couple weeks. Got your coffee today, Dr. Steph?
Yeah, I do. I think I'm due for a new laptop because every time I tuck my head, like the color gets messed up. So I think we need to work hard. I think you should just get a new one for me. I don't know.
Yeah. Everybody that's on the live so far, if you guys wouldn't mind sending us a message saying hello, good morning.
That felt pretty dismissive. I just fired that across the bow and you just laughed it off. Oh boy, oh boy.
All right, so today we are going to be talking about the second portion of supporting your immune system naturally and holistically. Again, this is not everything that we recommend. We're actually going to be rolling out an entire teaching series that teaches you how to handle X, Y, and Z ailments, how to handle them naturally. Because the worst thing in the world is waiting until you're in a crisis to say, oh my gosh, I don't have this, I don't have that. Where do I get it? Especially if it's the middle of the night. So again, today's topic, we're going to talk all about essential oils and supporting your immune system, which could not come at a better time in our household, in multiple patients' households. There is definitely stuff going around, and we're not talking just COVID. In fact, actually, a lot of people have a lot of respiratory issues going on. Me personally, I know that I felt like I had like a little bit of a sinus infection the last couple of days, and no, it's not COVID. So again, there are other things out there other than COVID. I think that's really important to normalize, talk about, and also like how we treat things naturally that aren't COVID, right? So if you guys can hear, I got Cruzy in here, and he's dealing with a little bit of a respiratory issue, just expressing health. And we're going to talk about also how we've helped support him naturally. So go ahead, Dr.
It's a really unusual time in human history because, typically, I mean, we're not a household that generally shows up at the hospital or the emergency room or those types of things. Usually, the only time we're there is like either to support a patient that's sick or I don't know, adjust a newborn or something, whatever. But right now, COVID trumps everything as it relates to the emergency room or emergency healthcare, right? So if you don't have COVID and you show up at the emergency room, more than likely you're going to be sent away, right? Because it's like, hey, it's non-life threatening, get out of here.
Right.
So that's really not an option. And it had been for a lot of people for a long time. So the worst time to be thinking about this stuff or scrambling is when you're already sick or dealing with something. So I think it's important that we talk about getting your war chest ready. And then also, that's great. We have all these different modalities and tools at our disposal. How the heck are we supposed to use them? What's appropriate in each case? What are we doing? Because if we don't know those, you may have all the right tools, but if you're not applying them correctly, you're worse for the wear.
Yeah, and we always explain, like, we are a huge fan of what we call polymodalities, meaning we do multiple things. So like sometimes patients will say, well, isn't that an overkill? I don't know. For me, if I can knock something out in a day or two instead of like 2 weeks, like, hey, I'm for that. So we in our house, and we'll take pictures and show you guys like our medicine cabinet. We've got herbs, we have supplements, we have essential oils, we have other natural things. We've got, more medical practices that we transform into natural treatments, like a nebulizer. And so again, like, we have all of these different options, and that's what we want to teach you guys, is to truly empower you so that when something happens, whether it's respiratory, whether it's a throat issue, whether it's a digestive issue, whether it's a cut, a burn, or whatever, you guys know how to handle this without any issues, and we can eliminate any side effects or anything like that as soon as possible.
Yeah. So can I jump in and talk about some of our supportive things that we do? So oregano oil I don't know if you can read it, but trust me, this is oregano oil. This is therapeutic, high potency stuff. I'll never forget. So way back when, anytime I would public speak the day after, do you remember I would get like sore throats?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I just attributed that to, I don't know, projection or whatever the deal was. But when we first started using essential oils, I had one of these bouts and I couldn't clear it. I was, taking vitamin D, vitamin C, and just sore throat, sore throat, sore throat. Well, so finally, I started using oregano oil and it cleared it. And I've never had another problem since. And so this is a very, very, very potent antimicrobial, specifically bacterial and viral. So if you're in the middle of a health crisis, so for instance, if you're sick, you got the aches systemically, you're running a fever, the goal is not necessarily to bring the fever down, because the body's doing that for a reason. I'll have you speak to that in just a second, Dr. Lacey, but the goal is to support the body so it fights the infection and the fever comes down naturally. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes folks makes is like they'll take Tylenol, right, to like break the fever. But the fever is high because viruses and bacteria cannot survive in an elevated temperature, right? So oregano oil, if you need to bring a sledgehammer to a fight, this is one I would strongly recommend.
Yeah. And again, not all oils are created equal. That's not really the topic for today. But there's a reason why we promote a specific brand of oils, is because we know every single time that therapeutic grade is going to work. And so, unfortunately, I know that they're typically a little bit more expensive than like what you can find in the grocery store. But there's a reason why. And trust me, when it's an emergency situation, like we don't have time for things not to be working at 110%. So with oregano oil, there's definitely different ways that you can use it. And again, we're always at your guys' disposal. In fact, this morning, we already had a patient that one of their kids was in the middle of a crisis, called me first thing this morning. We're on it. We're already handling it. And that's what we want for you guys, is to ask questions. But what was nice is I'm like, okay, we need to do this, this, and this. And she's like, okay, got it. How do I do it? I'm like, here's how we're going to apply it. Here's how we're going to do it. This is how often. And we were ready to rock and roll. So with oregano oil, it is a hot oil. And so it's really important, depending on the age of the person, depending on somebody's skin sensitivity, we're going to use it differently. Typically, what's going to be across the board safe for you for oregano oil is to apply it on the bottom of your feet. This is my favorite thing to do, like at nighttime, just because it can be a little hot, especially if we're like applying it on kids' feet. So put it on the bottom of your feet, rub it in, put socks on, immediately go wash your hands so you don't burn your eyeballs if you accidentally rub your eyes. But oregano is it's like you said, it's a heavy hitter. And so it's one that's just going to help naturally support the body. I always find that when I start to feel even a little ran down, I'll put oregano oil on before I go to bed. I notice that it helps support my body. Like I know my body temperature elevates in a good way, like it's fighting off those viruses, bacteria, parasites, fungal, and you're going to sweat through the night. And then I wake up like 99% out of 100, like feeling like $1,000,000 again, or if not, at least significantly better. Again, healing does take time. That's one thing that I think is important to note, is that unfortunately healing takes time, but our goal is to speed it up and make it happen as fast as possible. So
yeah, and before we jump into more oils and all that kind of stuff, I think people can get overwhelmed and can get frustrated. How the heck do I get my hands on good oils? Number one, we carry a ton of them at the office. And it's a little bit of a deal with the devil. Okay, so if you're relying on our office to carry them, guess what? We've got tons of patients that are playing the same game. And so stuff can go in and out of stock depending upon what we're dealing with the ebb and flow. So you're more than welcome to purchase them at the office. We do our very best to make sure we have what you guys need. However, I mean, if I get a case of something and 12 people come in that day, guess what? We're out of stock again, right? Yeah. So one way is just doing that. The other thing is setting up an account where you can have it shipped directly to you, just like an Amazon account or something like that, but you're doing it directly through doTERRA. So if you need help setting up an account, reach out to us. We're more than happy to help you with that, kind of walk you through how that works and how you do it. It's very, very easy. Did I miss anything, Dr. Lacey?
You said Amazon and doTERRA in the same sentence. Do not buy doTERRA oils on Amazon. Do not, another talk for another day. Do not buy doTERRA oils from Amazon. Make sure you're getting them from a provider or directly from their website. So
what I meant was just
I know.
like you go on Amazon and you buy something and it gets shipped to your house. You go on doTERRA's website, buy their oil, and it ships to your house. Is what I meant.
I know.
Just like we talked about with supplements, you usually don't buy supplements on Amazon unless they're like, that's the engine that the company uses. But other than that, no, don't buy oils online on Amazon.
Yeah. So like how we explain oregano oil is we think of it as like a way of it supporting a body, just like a antibiotic would. So for compliance's sake, we can't say that it's an antibiotic, but like in our household, a situation where a person would typically take like an antibiotic, that's a situation where we would pull out like oregano oil. So the next best one that's not as potent, but it's still pretty strong and pretty relevant and across the board safe. It's not going to mess up your gut flora. There's no limitation to how many times you could take it in a day, would be tea tree oil. I think you have that one too. You stole all the good ones. So tea tree oil, aka Melaleuca, doTERRA actually changed where we source our Melaleuca from. So now it's called tea tree, not Melaleuca. But that's another fantastic natural essential oil that helps to, thank you, bud, support viruses, bacteria, parasite, more viruses, bacteria, but again, it's antimicrobial.
I love it for skin stuff. So I use it after I shave because a lot of times people get like razor burn and irritation. And what that can be is bacteria that lives on your skin and causing problems. So I like it antimicrobially topically. Foot fungus stuff, toenail growth stuff. Tea tree oil is number one. I actually really like the smell of it. Some people don't, but I'm fond of it big time. And it's one that is pretty easy on the skin. It's not going to irritate anything. Yeah.
And then anytime we're dealing with like a throat issue, what's really nice is it's not nearly as intense. It's not nearly as hot as oregano oil. So you can actually put like a drop or two in a shot glass with some water and then drink it. And then it's going to coat like your oral area down into your throat. So that's another easy thing too. Again, Melaleuca is not a hot oil, so it's very easy to apply like topically over the chest, topically over your sinuses, which is what I've been doing to support, which is why my face is a little bit red here. Or just even on the bottom of the feet works really well too. So again, Melaleuca is another really fantastic immune supporting oil. And then the third would be On Guard. And Dr. Seth, I think you're going to be needed in the bathroom in just a second with Chris.
Oh, yeah. So
I'll go ahead and talk about On Guard.
All right. I'll be right back.
Okay. Don't mind us. We've got cruise duty today. And so we're still in the phase of potty training. So On Guard is the third immune supportive oil. This is specific to doTERRA. It's a blend of multiple different oils. We've got wild orange, clove, cinnamon bark, eucalyptus, rosemary. So again, it's just a heavy hitter with multiple different oils it's called the protective blend for a reason, just to protect your body. So this is a really good oil that we like doing on a regular basis prior to being in a crisis. And then again, obviously, if you are in a crisis, you're going to increase your dosage, increase your frequency. But On Guard, especially during like cold and flu season, which is like right now until January, is something that we highly recommend people be diffusing in their diffusers at home, at your desk. We have so many teachers that love diffusing On Guard in the classrooms. This is another oil that can be ingested. Just think of it as like, it's not a multivitamin in the sense that you're getting like minerals and that kind of thing, but think of it as a daily supportive measure to help support your immune system, to literally protect your body from foreign invaders. Because of a lot of the oils, this is very antimicrobial, bacterial, viral. So again, multiple different oils. I like all of them because they all have individual healing properties. So my favorite thing anytime we're starting to feel ran down is to blend On Guard, oregano oil, and Melaleuca together in a roller bottle. And then that way we have it in a roller bottle and it's ready to go. And we can just roll it on the bottom of the feet every couple hours or before bedtime. Again, it's all about supporting your body. And then in a crisis, you've got it and you can increase your frequency and your dosage.
Yeah. I just think what I love about On Guard is it's so broad spectrum. It's like sometimes we can get laser beam focused and it's like, well, yeah, but if we're just across the board covering all of our bases, maybe that's a better strategy, especially when we're not in an acute crisis. One of the things that people run into trouble with is when there's an infection, it can actually work its way into the jaw and into the teeth. Now we've got tooth stuff, abscesses, all these different things. And so an oil that I absolutely love is clove oil. And I don't know why I grabbed some hot ones today, but clove oil is a must. And the worst time to not have clove oil is when you have that tooth infection or whatever. You can be rinsing or gargling with this in water. It's a little hot, so it'll be okay. But anything tooth stuff, clove is the best bet.
Yeah. And then one of the newer oils, just speaking to teeth issues like oral infections, stuff like that. One of the newer oils that just became available October 1st is called Holy Basil. And that's actually a phenomenal oil for anything oral related as far as like root infections, things like that. So again, we're going to do an entire essential oil run through so you guys know what oils do what. But yeah, he brought up oral stuff. So one of the things I want to talk about just specifically, because I know like Helichrysum is a fantastic, thank you. Helichrysum is another fantastic supportive agent for viruses. So this is a natural antiviral supporting agent. Helichrysum is good for so many other things. It's good for collagen support, skin healing, regeneration. We use this a lot with our pregnant mamas, postpartum moms. But for the topics of immune system, this is an oil that I totally underappreciated for viral support until we started using it over the last couple of years. But for me, like my weakest area, anytime like I get like a cold or my allergies flare up, is always my sinuses for whatever reason. And so like Helichrysum is not a hot oil. So what I like to do with this is put like a drop or two on my finger and then literally just apply it over my sinuses. And again, that's why my face is a little red. Again, I've got no makeup on today. That's okay, because I'm just supporting my body, giving it all the oils that it needs. But I really like applying Helichrysum topically over the sinus areas, as well as on a chest if there's any type of like respiratory discomfort. RSV is going around right now during this time of the year with kids. It's awful, but Helichrysum is really great as a natural antiviral supporting agent. So again, it's not a hot oil. It is a very expensive oil. I will say all the expensive oils are the ones that always work the best. But again, it's not an everyday oil, but when you need it, like it's definitely something that you want to have. Same with Melissa oil. Melissa oil, actually, thank goodness for doTERRA. It used to be over $100 a bottle. I think they've gotten the price down now to $90 a bottle. And Melissa oil is probably by far the most potent antiviral. So as people are freaking out about the current COVID virus and things like that, if you really want to have something that is in your war chest and ready to go if something happens, we chose to stockpile on Melissa oil because we've seen firsthand what it does with any type of viral infection. So again, if you're trying to buy certain deworming agents or other medicines, me personally, the holistic hippie in me, we stockpiled Melissa oil because I've seen it work firsthand in multiple patients. I'm not saying it's a treatment for COVID. I'm just saying if that were to happen to our family, that would absolutely be one of the major agents that we would use. And in fact, when my mom got COVID last year, that's what we used along with a couple other natural supportive agents. She did not choose to do the hospital route. And after what was it, like 12 days, 13 days, was back to herself. And again, it just proves that you can do things natural. Again, we support you guys no matter what you choose. But again, there are options in the natural realm as well too. So
yeah, and Melissa's one where you don't want to try to get your hands on it when you're in a crisis. You want to have it in the hopes that you never use it, right? So Melissa oil is not always produced every year just because it is so labor intensive. Everything has to be right. There can't be any rain right when they harvest, all these different things. And so that's one of the reasons why it's so expensive. So you definitely want to make sure that you have it in the hopes that you're never going to use it. You are going to use it, but you're going to use it in the midst of a crisis.
Yeah. And like, I will say one of our patients the other day, she's like, man, like she's got 4 little kids. She's like, RSV is going around, COVID, like all this stuff, like what's an oil that absolutely need to have. And I'm like, you need to have Melissa oil. I'm like, I hope to God you don't need it. I hope your babies are fine because you guys do a lot of the right things. I'm like, but you need to have that. That's like one that is just, it's got to be in your medicine cabinet. And so she's like, okay, she got it. And I'm like, I, again, hope you never have to use it or open it. But if you do, if you've ever used Melissa oil, those of you that are watching, you know how good Melissa oil works. So my sister-in-law can attest to that. For whatever reason, Cruz always is more prone to. Oh, you want me to tell him? Cruz wants you guys to know he's watching the iPad. But for whatever reason, Cruz is always prone to more respiratory issues. It's just been something that he's had a thing with since birth. So we always know that. So again, Melissa oil is very common in our household because we always support his body with Melissa oil, knowing that his respiratory system is the weakest part of his body. I guess not the weakest part. It's always the area that's going to manifest. First.
Yeah. The tissue is probably most sensitive there for him.
Yeah.
I will say that probably my far and away favorite oil is frankincense.
Yeah.
And two reasons. Number one, I just put this together the other day. My grandpa used to use aftershave that had frankincense in it. So whenever I smell it, it makes me think of good memories and those types of things. But more important than that, you are the essential oil whisperer. And I always ask you, I'm like, hey, which oil should I do for that? But when you're not around and I don't know, I just use frankincense because I'm always going to be right, because frankincense is good for what? Everything.
Yeah.
So when in doubt, bust frankincense out.
Yeah, literally that's the same. Like if you guys ever can't get a hold of us and you're like, I don't know, when in doubt, like use your frankincense. It's literally the holy anointing oil, what we call the baby Jesus oil. Frankincense just supports the body in ways that it's so hard to even quantifiably understand. I mean, we do know on a physiological level what it does, but it does so many different things that we could talk for hours on just frankincense alone. But it's one of the oils that crosses the blood-brain barrier. So again, like this is an oil that we actually do on an almost daily basis because of what it does for brain health, immune support, just overall like anti-aging. So again, we go through frankincense like crazy in our house. But again, like anytime I start to feel like the hint of anything, it's like I just bathe in frankincense, head to toe, internal, topical, whatever the heck I need. Because again, it's such a powerful oil. So again, the whole purpose of this is having oils at your disposal so that when you need them, you've got them. And again, you can always text us. You don't need to remember like how to use them, dosaging. That's what we're here for. Because again, depending on the age, depending on what it is, depending on if we're in an acute or chronic phase, how we're going to use them is going to change. Both if we're going to do them internally, topically, all that stuff. So again, we just need y'all to have them so that when we make those recommendations in a situation, you're ready to rock and roll and there's literally no lag time. So Yep.
That's all I got on my side. You got anything over there?
That's it. So again, those are just a couple quick immune supportive oils. There are many, many more, but those are our heavy hitters. So again, if you don't have those oils, work on getting those oils, whether it's from our clinic, helping us set up an account for you guys. But make sure we've got those in your war chest, especially as we are entering into what I call cold flu, RSV season, stress seasons with the holidays. So again, we can make sure that we kick anything you've got in the bud and rock and roll with healthy lifestyles. All right, everybody, have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for tuning in, and share this, or feel free to ask questions even if you're watching it after the fact. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, and we will see you next week.